When we think of Disney parks, most of us picture iconic attractions. Rides like Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Pirates of the Caribbean, or the Haunted Mansion. But behind this magic, there was a small team of engineers and machinists whose creativity and persistence helped make Walt Disney's wildest ideas possible. But despite what many assume, not all of Disneyland's original rides were born in the now famous model shop at Disney's Burbank studios. In fact, a large chunk of work was outsourced to a company that would go on to become an icon of the amusement park industry in their own right. From humble beginnings in a Mountain View machine shop after World War II, Arrow became one of the most influential companies in amusement history. They didn't just build rides, they invented the very technology that shaped modern roller coasters and dart rides. And while their partnership with Disney didn't last forever, the innovations they created together still define theme parks all around the world. Before I truly dive into this history, I'd like to quickly remind you to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. In the fall of 1945, Angus, Andy Anderson, Carl Bacon, Bill Hardeman, and Edgar Morgan left their jobs at Joshua Hendy Iron Works with a clear goal but little idea of the challenges ahead. Skilled foremen, Anderson an electrician, Morgan a mechanic, Bacon and Hardeman machinists, and Hardeman also an accountant, they had helped Hendy thrive during the war, producing torpedo launchers and marine engines for Liberty ships. With the war over and labour pressures mounting, the four decided to strike out on their own. And by December 1945, they had purchased land north of downtown Mountain View and begun building Arrow from scratch. Completed in August 1946, the reinforced concrete facility allowed them to take on their first Navy contracts and set the foundation for a company that would grow alongside the emerging electronics and aerospace industries of what would become Silicon Valley. In its early days, Arrow took on a variety of small projects, making replacement truck parts, refurbishing imported cars, and even crafting patent models for a San Francisco lawyer. It was, however, their miniature amusement rides for a Lone Rock Park in San Jose that started drawing attention. Clients were impressed by the reliability, precision, and value of their work, qualities that would soon open the door to larger, far more ambitious contracts. In the 1950s, Walt Disney was expanding his horizons beyond the world of motion pictures, hoping to bring the magic of his films to life in the real world. As the now famous story goes, weekend visits to amusement parks with his daughters left him frustrated. To Walt, everything felt worn down, dirty, and unsafe. And Walt wanted to build a new type of quality amusement park that all ages could enjoy. Seeing an opportunity, Arrow immediately tried to get in on the action and showcase their miniature sternwheeler, the Lil Belle, when Wed Enterprises' Dick Irvine requested proposals. Walt liked what they submitted, but was more impressed by their antique car constructions, and he therefore gave them one of the most important jobs in creating Disneyland. Arrow Development were given 6 contracts, 5 of which involved building the ride systems for Snow White's Scary Adventures, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Casey Jr. Circus Train, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, and the Mad Tea Party. The other was to refurbish the King Arthur Carousel. These contracts offered Arrow a whopping total of $250,000, which, adjusted for inflation, is equivalent to around $3 million today. Famously, Disneyland's opening day on July 17, 1955 did not go well. One of the key problems was the Dumbo ride, for which Arrow Development had built the hydraulic system, but Disney themselves had designed the elephant carriages, and when they added the ears, the weight was too much for the lifts. This caused a major flaw. The ride system's hydraulic accumulator dissolved nitrogen into the fluid, essentially turning it into a fizzy, soda-like mixture. And as the heavy Dumbos soared through the air, the gas expanded, creating thick brown foam in the hydraulic lines. Thanks to this, Arrow's Paul Harvey had to skim the froth from the tank after nearly every run, a messy task that Carl Bacon humorously dubbed milking the elephants. Despite the chaotic start, both Disneyland and Arrow made it through the day, and Walt admired Arrow's persistence in tackling the problems head-on. Not long after the park opened, Walt Disney was struggling with Autopia, where guests were crashing cars faster than staff could fix them, sometimes even causing injuries. Walt found a solution at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, where Arrow had built cars for a ride called Autorama. These cars used a center rail system that let them drift slightly without going off course. Impressed, Walt adapted Arrow's design to make Autopia both safer and more enjoyable. Over the years, the collaboration only grew stronger, with Arrow designing ride systems for some of Disney's most iconic attractions, including Alice in Wonderland, Midget Autopia, the Motorboat Cruise, the Mark VI redesign of Autopia cars, and the short-lived Flying Saucers. Arrow has also been credited with improving the guidance systems for the submarine voyage in 1959. By the late 1950s, Walt wanted to add a true thrill ride to Disneyland. His first idea, a real bobsled with ice and snow, surprisingly wasn't practical. Instead, he turned to the European Wild Mouse roller coaster for inspiration, with its sharp turns and drops. The problem was that traditional wood and steel tracks couldn't handle the twists and turns that Walt wanted. And again, Arrow was hired and solved the problem. Arrow discovered that round steel tubing could bend through complex curves while holding its shape. This created smooth, quiet rides, giving birth to the modern tubular steel roller coaster. Using this new technology, Arrow worked with Disney Imagineers to build the Matterhorn. They also invented a tire-based braking system now called the block brake, which allowed multiple trains to run safely at once. After months of redesign, adjustments, and last-minute fixes, the Matterhorn bobsleds officially opened on June 14, 1959. And it wasn't just Disneyland's newest ride, it was the first tubular steel roller coaster in the world, forever changing the amusement industry. As Arrow grew, their work reached far beyond just Disneyland, supplying rides to amusement parks across the globe. In fact, with Walt Disney's permission, they helped Blackpool Pleasure Beach build their very own version of the Alice in Wonderland dark ride. Walt saw this as a way to repay the park's role in inspiring his own Disneyland, and had no problem with them creating a similar attraction, so long as it was themed to the book and not his animated feature. Despite continuing to grow as a company, Arrow faced many economic issues, which they attributed to the fact that they actually lost money on every single ride that they constructed for Disneyland in 1955. Walt Disney was taken aback when he learned of this loss, and true to his generous nature, he immediately covered them, and then went even further, buying a 1/3 ownership in Arrow. Recognizing the company's crucial role in bringing his ideas to life, Disney's support gave Arrow the boost they needed. With his backing, they relocated to a bigger facility, where they finally had room not only to build their creations, but also to test them. Arrow continued to construct attractions for other parks, and did not work with Disney again until 1964, when Disney brought them on board to help with the World's Fair. Arrow helped with Disney's Pepsi Pavilion attraction, a little-known ride called It's a Small World. Already experienced in constructing flume rides, Arrow developed a system that kept boats constantly moving by adding hidden guide rails beneath the water. They were again hired to use a similar system when creating the more thrilling boat ride Pirates of the Caribbean. Sadly, Walt Disney passed away in 1966 prior to this attraction's opening in 1967. At the time of Walt's death, Arrow was also working on 2 other projects with Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion and Space Mountain. Arrow's role in the Haunted Mansion was mainly building the Omnimover system, which they had initially developed for Disney's Adventure Through Inner Space in 1967. Following this, Arrow had a large role in constructing many opening day Walt Disney World attractions. They returned to work on Magic Kingdom's 1971 rides, Cinderella's Golden Carousel, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, the Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, the Mad Tea Party, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Peter Pan's Flight, Snow White's Scary Adventures, and Flight to the Moon. And then for 1972's If You Had Wings. Arrow had originally pitched a 4-track concept for Space Mountain around 1964, but Walt Disney's death and disagreements with Imagineering over ride design delayed this project, and Disney eventually went ahead and designed the attraction in-house. Although Arrow did construct the original Walt Disney World version in 1975, but by 1977, Disney both designed and constructed the Disneyland version of the coaster by themselves. By the late 1970s, Disney had decided to bring a large amount of ride development in-house, largely due to the experience that they had gained while constructing Walt Disney World. In fact, Disneyland's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad would be the last coaster that Disney contracted to Arrow. This version opened in 1979, but when Magic Kingdom's version opened in 1980, it was instead built by Arrow's rival, Vekoma, a partnership that would later produce attractions like Rock and Roller Coaster, Expedition Everest, and the Paris and Tokyo versions of Big Thunder Mountain. And sadly, Disneyland's Big Thunder Mountain would be the last time that Disney and Arrow worked together. Evidently, Walt Disney's death had removed much of the bond between Disney and Arrow, and by the time that Carl and Ed sold Arrow to Rio Grande Industries in 1972, the company had strong revenues from other theme parks, and Disney had little interest in the coasters that Arrow would later become known for. Arrow had turned their attention to roller coasters, constructing many record breakers throughout the decades, including Cedar Point's Magnum XL 200, the world's very first hypercoaster, which opened in 1989. And they also built Blackpool Pleasure Beach's The Big One, which briefly held the world's tallest record from 1994 until 1996. But as the 2000s approached, Arrow began to struggle. Their final big shot at redemption came in the form of their 4D coaster concept, one that Arrow put everything they had left into. Constructed at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Arrow was sadly forced into bankruptcy with the ride only half finished. Thankfully, Six Flags saved the project and funded its completion. X opened in 2002, and although now rethemed and with new carriages as X2, the coaster still stands today, and it's one hell of a final legacy to leave behind. But sadly, on November 1st, 2002, Aerodynamics was officially shut down, and its assets were auctioned off and absorbed by Utah rival S&S. Nevertheless, Arrow did not just build rides, they helped bring Walt Disney's visions to life, creating experiences that defined Disneyland and inspired parks all around the world. Without Arrow, we wouldn't have many of Disney's classic rides, and without those, the amusement park industry as we know it today may well not exist. Their tubular steel track, first showcased on the Matterhorn in 1959, set the standard for nearly every modern steel coaster, and continues to influence engineers and designers today. Many of Arrow's original attractions at Disneyland may have been updated, but their innovative foundations remain, thrilling new generations just as they did decades ago. Though the company itself is gone, its legacy lives on through the rides that still carry the magic of Disney and the imagination, skill, and daring of Arrow. Whether you're at Disneyland, Cedar Point, Magic Mountain, or even Blackpool Pleasure Beach, many of their rides are still standing strong today. Disney's work with Arrow may not have lasted forever, but the impact and legacy of their creations certainly will. I'd love to know which is your personal favourite Disney and Arrow ride. Mine has to be my favourite Disney attraction anyway, the Haunted Mansion. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and check out some of my other videos as well as the links in the description.